Well, good morning. Welcome to Daily Videos with me, Pastor Michelle. Today's Wednesday, February 3rd, and let's get started with God's love note. First, a reading from Job. Then Job arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell on the ground and worshipped. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name." There's a song. Sorry. So let's hear God's love note. So many of my beloved children suffer because this world is full of injustice and the things that happen in the world feel so arbitrary. So many people blame other people for their own suffering, or they say I caused it. I want only your good. And so the story of my son Job is particularly precious to me because he endured so much and rejected those who told him it was because of his sin. He kept fighting for the right to be heard by me, and he remained faithful to me. I want my children to wrestle with and question injustice and to wrestle with me. I'm strong enough to take it. Today I invite you to lift up a prayer to me about an injustice you face. Don't be afraid. I want your faithfulness. I do not want you to accept injustice or ever feel like you have to attribute your suffering to me. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. So we're going to actually finish this book up, Women of the Bible. And let's finish it up. So the women at the cross. When Jesus reached the temple in Jerusalem, he was in for a shock. The temple forecourt had been converted into a bazaar where money changers did business, converting Roman currency into temple shekels, and where sacrificial animals were sold. Jesus was deeply aggrieved, and he began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers. I love that story. It's a great story of Jesus losing his shit. And in a good way. He loses it over the injustice he saw, and he flips tables. I did a sermon a few years back on this passage, and I remember I had like a fake table on top of the pulpit, and at the end of my sermon, I actually flipped it. It wasn't as dramatic as I thought it would be, but because I think we all need to flip the tables of injustice when we see injustice, metaphorically. We need to be flipping tables. We need to be flipping mad sometimes. So I could preach on that, but so many modern scholars accept that this protest prompted the call for Jesus' arrest. He was apprehended later that night on the Mount of Olives and indicted in the house of the high priest Caiaphas. He was then transferred into Roman custody so that the Roman prefect, Pontius Pilate, could condemn him to death. Now, Jesus wasn't a Roman citizen, and under Roman colonial law, anyone claiming to establish a kingdom was by definition a political rebel. By custom, rebels were condemned to death by crucifixion. By now, all the apostles had fled, fearing for their lives. Simon Peter, Jesus' closest follower, had even denied knowing Jesus 3 times. Remarkably, 3 very brave women remained steadfast by Jesus' side, another example of the uniquely prominent role that Jesus' female followers play in the Gospels. According to Mark, they were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and younger, and of James the younger, and of Joseph and Salome. We know Mary Magdalene. Salome is arguably the mother of Zebedee's sons, an identification that's confirmed in Matthew's Gospel, an indication of this family's close involvement with Jesus' ministry. The reference to the other Mary is more difficult to decipher. Earlier in his gospel, Mark stated that Jesus had 4 brothers, James and Jose, and Judas and Simon. This would indicate that the women at the foot of the cross is none other than Mary, the mother of Jesus. But why would Mark not identify her as such and instead refer her to other sons, James and Jose? Did you eat? The answer is not clear. Sorry. Mary appears twice more in Mark's passion story, but once again she's described as either Mary, the mother of Jose, or Mary, the mother of James, respectively. Luke 2 refers to this eyewitness as Mary, the mother of James. The 4th gospel, that of John, identifies 3 people at Jesus' cross: his mother's sister, and Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. The Greek name her breath smells. That's why I asked her if she ate, and of course she answered me. Anyway, the Greek name for Clopas is Alphaeus. If John is correct, then both the mother of Jesus and the mother of James, son of Alphaeus, would have been standing at the cross, a tradition that's followed by most artists in Western and Eastern Orthodox art. How this bears on Mark's description, however, is a mystery. So here is a painting of Jesus being, I think probably after he's been taken off the cross. So we finished this up. I'm gonna have to find another fun book to read through, because I liked this one a lot. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's next on the docket. So let's hear some more humans in New York. All right. So this woman says, there were 6 of us living in a small apartment. Mom had headaches the night before, so we were tiptoeing around so we wouldn't wake her up. Right before we left for school, my sister and I went into her room to say bye. Her lips were blue. We called my dad, and he made all of us scream Mom's name. It's like he thought she was sitting right next to her body, and we only needed to call her back. And this one says, we broke up in Starbucks. A week later, I walked by and the place had been completely bulldozed to the ground. I always thought that was the universe doing me a favor. I've been feeling a bit unaccomplished lately. I recently met a kid in his 20s who figured out a way to power lights in India by generating electricity from human shit. Wow. That makes me feel unaccomplished. I mean, what have I done? You ever feel that way? But, it's that whole keeping up with the Joneses. We're never going to keep up. There's always going to be someone that has less or more than us. That's a fact of life that I've come to realize. So be happy with what you got. So, let's get back into Mockingjay, shall we? Sorry, my throat's on. All right. Buttercup's eyes reflect the faint glow of the safety light over the door as he lies in the crook of Prim's arm, back on the job, protecting her from the night. She snuggled close to my mom. Asleep, they looked just as they did the morning of the reaping that landed me in my first games. I have a bed to myself because I'm recuperating and because no one can sleep with me anyway, what with the nightmares and the thrashing. After tossing and turning for hours, I finally accept that it will be a wakeful night. Under Buttercup's watchful eye, I tiptoe across the cold tile floor to the dresser. The middle drawer contains my government-issued clothes. Everyone wears the same gray pants and shirt, the shirt tucked in at the waist. Underneath the clothes, I keep a few items I had on me when I was lifted from the arena. My Mockingjay pen, PETA's token, the gold locket with photos of my mother and Prim and Gail inside, a silver parachute that holds a spile for tapping trees, and the pearl PETA gave me a few hours before I blew out the force field. 13 confiscated my tube of skin ointment for use in the hospital and my bow and arrows because only guards have clearance to carry weapons. They're in safekeeping in the armory. I feel around for the parachute and slide my fingers inside until they close around the pearl. I sit back on my bed cross-legged and find myself rubbing the smooth surface. Sorry. I was just saying a notice I got on my phone. Smooth and iridescent surface of the pearl back and forth against my lips. For some reason, it's soothing. A cool kiss from the giver himself. Katniss? She's awake, peering at me. What's wrong? Nothing, just a bad dream. Go back to sleep. It's automatic, shutting Prim and my mother out of things to shield them. Careful not to rouse my mother, Prim eases herself from the bed, scoops up Buttercup, and sits beside me. She touches the hand that's curled around the pearl. You're cold. Taking a spare blanket from the foot of bed, she wraps it around all 3 of us, enveloping me in her warmth and Buttercup's furry heat as well. You could tell me, I'm good at keeping secrets, even from Mother. She's really gone then. The little girl at the back of her shirt sticking out like a ducktail, the one who needed help reaching the dishes and who begged to see the frosted cakes in the bakery window. Time and tragedy have forced her to grow too quickly, at least for my taste, into a young woman who stitches bleeding wounds and knows our mother can only hear so much. Tomorrow morning I'm going to agree to be the Mockingjay. Because you want to, or because you feel forced to do it? I laugh a little. Both, I guess. No, I want to. I have to. If it will help the rebels defeat Snow, I squeeze the pearl more tightly in my fist. It's just PETA. I'm afraid if we do win, the rebels will execute him as a traitor. Katniss, I don't think you understand how important you are to this cause. Important people usually get what they want. If you want to keep PETA safe from the rebels, you can. I guess I am important. They went to a lot of trouble to rescue me. They took me to 12. You mean I could demand that they give PETA immunity? And they'd have to agree to it? I think you could demand almost anything and they'd have to agree to it. Only, how do you know they'll keep their word? I remember all the lies Haymitch told PETA and me to get us to do what he wanted. What's to keep the rebels from reneging on the deal? A verbal promise behind closed doors, even a statement written on paper. These could easily evaporate after the war. Their existence or validity denied. Any witnesses in command will be worthless. In fact, they'd probably be the ones writing out PETA's death warrant. I'll need a much larger pool of witnesses. I'll need everyone I can get. It will have to be public. Buttercup gives a flick of its tail that I take as an agreement. I'll make Coin announce it in front of the entire population of 13. Prim smiles. Oh, that's good. It's not a guarantee, but it will be much harder for them to back out of their promise. I feel the kind of relief that follows an actual solution. I should wake you up more often, little duck. I wish you would, says Prim. She gives me a kiss. Try and sleep now, all right? And I do. In the morning, I see that 7 o'clock breakfast is directly followed by 7:30 command, which is fine since I may as well start the ball whirling. At the dining hall, I flash my schedule, which includes some kind of ID number in front of a sensor. As I slide my tray along the metal shelf before the vats of food, I see breakfast in its usual, dependable self. A bowl of hot grain, a cup of milk, and a scoop of fruit or vegetables. Today, mashed turnips. All of it comes from 13's underground farms. I sit at the table assigned to the Everdeens and the Hawthorns and some other refugees, and shovel my food down, wishing for seconds, but there are never seconds. They have nutrition down to a science. You leave with enough calories to take you to the next meal, no more, no less. Serving size is based on your age, height, body type, health, and amount of physical labor required by your schedule. The people from 12 are already getting slightly larger portions than the natives of 13 in an effort to bring us up to weight. I guess bony soldiers tired too quickly. It's working, though. In just a month, we're starting to look healthier, really, particularly the kids. Gale sets his tray beside mine, and I try not to stare at his turnips too pathetically, because I really want more, and he's already too quick to slip me his food. Even though I turn my attention to neatly folding my napkin, a spoonful of turnip slops into my bowl. That was nice of him. Sorry, I got choked up on something. Anyway, God bless you all, my friends. Stay safe out there.